Go to the port of Long Beach right now. Walk to the edge of the dock. You will see them stacked 10 high, stretched out further than a football field. These steel boxes move your phone, your furniture, the shirt on your back. But walk up to any single one of those boxes. Find the small metal plate bolted near the door. Read it carefully. It doesn't matter if the name painted across the side says Hapag-Lloyd, Evergreen, or Costco. That name? That's just the tenant. That's the airline, not the aircraft. The plate tells you who actually built the box. And almost every single plate, on every single container in the world, says one of three names. CIMC, Dongfang, or CXIC. Three companies, that's it. Together, they manufacture over 80% of the world's shipping containers. And when you zoom out to the national level, the number becomes almost impossible to believe. China builds 96% of all dry cargo containers on Earth, and 100% of all refrigerated ones. So the obvious question is, why can't anyone else do this? The answer is not cheap labor. It runs much deeper than that. Most people assume China won the container business the same way it won cheap electronics, by undercutting everyone on wages. That's not the whole picture. Not even close. Containers were invented in America. After Malcolm McLean put the first standardized box on a ship in 1956, US factories built them. But the industry didn't stay. It moved to Japan in the 1960s, then to South Korea in the 1970s and 80s. Then, by the 1990s, it landed in China and stopped moving entirely. Why did it stop? Because China has something nobody else can replicate at scale. Steel. A single 40-foot container is roughly 4,000 kilograms of specialized weathering steel. Steel alone accounts for about 60% of the total build cost. And in 2024, China produced 1,005 million tons of crude steel, more than every other country on Earth combined. The second largest producer, India, managed 144 million tons. The US, Japan, and Germany together don't come close. So think about what it would actually take to build containers somewhere else. You'd import steel from China, pay tariffs on it, weld the box together, and then ship it back to China empty, because that's where 90% of the goods being loaded actually come from. You lose money importing the material. You lose money on the build. You lose money shipping it back empty. It fails at every single step. The geography of steel is the geography of the container. Full stop.
So who are these three companies? CIMC. Full name, China International Marine Containers. Founded in 1980 in Shenzhen as a joint venture with a Danish firm. In 2024, their dry container sales jumped over 400%, selling close to 3.5 million units in a single year. Stand at any major port and count the containers you see. Statistically, 1 in every 2 was built by CIMC. They hold roughly half the global market. Then there is Dongfang, also known as DFIC. Around 25 to 30% of the market. Quieter than CIMC, but no less powerful. The preferred builder for several large, state-backed shipping lines. Third is CXIC, holding around 10 to 15%. Still operating at a scale no outside competitor can touch. Together, These three don't just lead the industry, they are the industry. But here is what most people miss. These are not low-tech sweatshops punching out rusty boxes. CIMC runs dark factories, production lines so heavily automated they operate with the lights off. Laser welding, AI-driven quality inspection, the precision you associate with car manufacturing, not shipping boxes. They didn't win by being cheap. They won by being untouchable. You might be thinking, container prices tripled during the pandemic. That sounds like exactly the kind of profit signal that attracts competition. So why didn't anyone show up? First reason, when global trade collapses, and it does roughly every decade, private companies in the West run out of cash and shut down. These three don't. Backed by state banks, when demand falls off a cliff, the lights stay on. The workers stay. The machines stay. And when trade roars back, they are the only ones still standing with the capacity to fill the orders. That staying power is the moat. Second reason is even more brutal. The world's second largest shipping line, Maersk, actually tried. For years, they ran a division called MCI, building high-quality refrigerated units. In 2024, Maersk moved to sell the entire operation to CIMC. Regulators blocked the deal on antitrust grounds, but the intent sent a message no press release ever could. If Maersk, with all its scale, all its capital, all its industry knowledge, decided manufacturing containers was not worth it, what chance does anyone else have? The margins are razor thin, and only these three can afford to bleed. Here is the part nobody talks about. The thing that finally cemented this monopoly wasn't a hostile takeover. It wasn't a trade war. It was a paint regulation. In 2017, the Chinese government mandated that container factories switch from oil-based paints to water-based paints. Good for the air. But for smaller factories, it was a death sentence. Switching isn't just swapping one can for another. You need entirely new drying systems, new humidity controls, new facility certifications. For a small private manufacturer, it was like being told you need a Formula One pit crew to stay in a go-kart race. You simply cannot afford it. Hundreds of smaller competitors went under. CIMC, Dongfang, and CXIC called their state banks, got the loans, upgraded overnight, and absorbed every single customer the smaller factories left behind. The regulation didn't just clean the air, it cleared the field. Think CIMC just makes boxes? You are severely underestimating them. Next time you board a flight, Paris, Dubai, Los Angeles, anywhere, look at the passenger boarding bridge. There is a very high chance it was built by CIMC Tianda, a subsidiary of the group, one of the largest suppliers of airport boarding equipment on the planet. When Hong Kong needed quarantine centres built in weeks, not months, weeks, CIMC delivered thousands of fully fitted modular rooms, pre-wired, pre-plumbed, ready to stack. They own Ziegler, a German fire truck manufacturer. They build offshore oil platforms. This is not a box company that got lucky. This is an infrastructure empire that started with boxes. As manufacturing shifts to Vietnam and India, the question is, will container production follow? Vietnam has growing steel capacity. India has ambition. But scale is the one thing neither of them has. A brand new state-of-the-art factory in Vietnam might produce 100,000 units a year. CIMC alone produces nearly 2 million. That is not a gap. That is a wall. Go back to that metal plate on the container door. That small, unassuming tag is the signature
of a 40-year strategy. Not a hostile takeover, not a single masterstroke, just steel, scale, and the patience to outlast everyone else. CIMC, Dongfang, and CXIC didn't conquer this industry. They simply never left. And by the time anyone noticed, by the time most people noticed, the gap was already too wide to close. This is what modern industrial dominance actually looks like. Not loud, not fast, just inevitable. If you want to understand how America lost 97% of its shipping industry, watch the video on the left. And if you want to know about the single company that controls almost every port crane on Earth, watch the video on the right. Like and subscribe. The next box you walk past knows who built it. Now you